Oh, man.
Facer.
Hey, what's going on, campers? Campfacer here. Welcome back to another Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game video. Today, Gun Interactive released a new video, the making of the game video, and we're going to react to it, and we're going to pause, and I'm going to go over the clips that we're watching together here in this video. It's going to be a little bit different. But before I even dive into that, I want to show you guys my new Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt I got for Easter from my wife. She's amazing. This is awesome. You guys, check this out. Hell yeah. This is one of my favorite shirts so far. Hell yeah. And she also got me that NECA back there, the Leatherface NECA. I'm spoiled, you guys. I'm spoiled. My wife is amazing. If you're watching this, I love you, babe. Anyways, yeah, I may have the gray hair, but you guys know, just don't go in the woods. Wait a minute, I'm jumping the gun here. Let's start this video and react to it because there's some pretty amazing things here. But before we even watch this, if you want to watch the full video, I'm going to put the link to Gun's full video. I highly recommend everybody watch it. Don't get lazy on me. Click the link in the description below to the video, watch and appreciate and listen. And because when you watch that video, you're going to dive into the game and appreciate it even more. I'm telling you guys. So do it. Do it. And then maybe come back and watch mine or whatever. I don't care. But yeah, let's do this.
There are some unique challenges to bringing well-known horror icons
let's get it, Wes.
into the game.
Hell yeah. Let's get it. I love that scene. Reenacting the end of the original film. We still don't know. When you get to the road, Quick Hill Road, she's running out to Quick Hill Road. I was there, by the way. Do you have to jump into a pickup truck? Or we don't know anything yet on that, so.
Oh man, what was my first experience with the Texas Chainsaw film?
My first experience with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, probably very uncommon compared to what most people did. I saw that film when I was 8 or 9 years old.
The first time I saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, well, I was in college and I was hanging with a bunch of folks who loved like classic film.
So way too young to be watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but like a lot of kids.
But back then, he's right though, but back then, in the 80s, you guys, things were way different. It was okay for us young kids, 8 years old, 7 to 10 years old, to watch these over graphic, like disturbing films. It was just kind of, nobody like seemed to really care, but we dove into it. And the crazy part is, well, our imaginations were a lot bigger than this generation. This generation goes into a movie with a notepad and a pen, and instead of diving their imagination into the shoes of the characters these days, they pick it apart, so they don't think it's as scary. A lot of that's the way I look at it. But back then, you guys, like, we were like immersed. Like, there was no picking things apart and becoming a critic on YouTube. There was no social media or anything like that. So it was like, you put the movie on and it was like, oh, what did I just see? Oh my God. And it was stuck with you for a long time. So it was crazy. It was awesome.
Growing up in the 80s, that's what we did. We got a VCR and we went to the video store and we were renting Friday the 13th and Halloween. And one day, a friend of mine who was much older got a hold of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And at the time, I think, obviously as a young kid, you don't know the ramifications of watching that film and what that film did for the industry. And it wasn't until many years later, when I was taking film class and film study, that that film came up again as something that not only changed the horror genre, but just changed the film industry in general.
First time I saw this movie, it was really, I thought it was super violent. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird, I don't like that. But then actually watching it and thinking about it, like, actually there wasn't blood. It wasn't that violent. It's just very disturbing. And I couldn't get it out of my head. And I had to watch it again. And I had to watch it again and again. And each time I picked up something like, wow, these characters are strange and there's a dark humor in it.
He has a Leatherface lamp.
And I just fell in love with it.
The original 74 film, I feel like I saw that when I was younger. And I don't think I fully understood what I was seeing. And it wasn't until, it was either my junior or senior year of high school that I really started to go like, oh.
My first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I ever saw was part 2. It's a little weird, but then I went to part 1, and I was about 10 years old, I think, give or take.
And then a rewatch again in college really drove it home for me as like, this is something special. This is a special film.
I'd say my experience working on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is there's really two angles there. There's the creative side where you're thrilled and you're thrilled to be working on such a franchise that you love, that you grew up watching, just like we did with Friday the 13th. Now we're doing the same thing for Texas. So as a fan, that's awesome to be able to work on it on the creative side and to work with Sumo Digital and everyone here. But there's also kind of the nerd side where I get to call Kim Hinkle and I get to work with the rights holders and text them or go to their house in Texas and pick their brain about what was present at the time when they were filming that movie. For a video game, obviously you need more than the cook, the hitchhiker, and Leatherface for a multiplayer match. So we knew we needed some new characters.
So part of the process of creating characters for
yeah. So you guys watching this, or maybe you never even knew about this, but the game is a 3v4 multiplayer game, which means you're 3 killers versus the 4 victims, and there's no duplicates. Like if somebody picks a certain character in the video game, you cannot pick that. It's a first come first serve. So now you can't play that character. So what he's basically saying right now at launch, they can't just have the cook, the hitchhiker, and Leatherface, the three characters, because if somebody picks somebody you really wanted, you need more options. So they added 2 extra characters. So you got 5 to choose from. So you're not left with just the one character if you don't like them. You have more option to pick. So that's where they're coming up to talk about the Sissy and Johnny characters that they created for this video game as well that weren't inside the movie.
Or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre involved speaking with Kim Henkel, the original rights holder. He's been pivotal in giving us access to designs that he's got from way back when for other characters that would have been in the universe.
To work with Kim Hinkle on this is really a dream, because a lot of these franchises, a lot of these iconic horror IPs, the original creators may not be attached anymore. They may not still be with us. And if you don't have that voice in the mix, something's missing, in my opinion. So it's been a dream to have him be not only attached, but like in the trenches with us.
The process was a long one. It was probably 3 years of just research and studying certain things. We knew we wanted the family, the new characters, to fit into the family, but also stand out. There's a fine line there where they can look out of place, but they also have to have a personality and they have to blend in a way that you would believe that they could live there.
When we were creating new characters for this game, we had the two types. We had the family, we had the victims. For the family, we had these brilliant bios that Gunn had been working with Kim Henkel, the original writer of the film, on.
I think Sissy's is probably one of my more favorite.
You guys, this new character, Sissy, she is one badass, kind of cute, southern, dirty girl. Kind of that hippie, like satanic girl, like the girl that you can't trust her. You turn around after having sex with her, you turn around and you're walking away, you're gonna get your throat slit, even though you just had that intimate moment. That's that girl. I would not trust her whatsoever. Even if she was part of my family, I wouldn't trust her. I think I might rock Sissy a couple times. That didn't sound good. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm going to play Sissy. I'm going to main Sissy. Oh, my God. Whatever.
Favorite ones just because she's this kind of after effect of the 1960s kind of like hippie movement and stuff, but she's gone to a much more extreme ends and falling into like cults and all this kind of stuff. So I quite like her personality.
Damn,
and her kind
that's
of
brutal kill.
Her kind of psychosis, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. So yeah, I quite like Sissy's background.
For always is always forever, 'Cause one is one is one. Look inside yourself or your father. All is one, all is none, all is none. None is one.
Sissy Sunshine Slaughter
that's
was what
awesome.
Kim came up with. And he had this paragraph about Sissy. That's all he had, was this a paragraph about this girl, this kind of crazed LSD 60s kind of drifter girl who rebelled against the family and hitchhiked across the country and went to just a lot of different places. She ended up with the Manson family for a while, and she bounced around and she left a trail of carnage kind of everywhere she went.
Damn. She hooked up with the Manson family. Charlie Manson, the whole Manson family. So she's a drifter. She's a Sawyer family. She's a Sawyer. She rebelled against her own family, hitchhiked across the country. She probably, like he just said, like Ronnie Hobbs just said, she left a trail, which means she killed, probably left dead bodies in motels, hooked up with the Manson family, did whatever. She's got a history of hell. Hell's Kitchen is in the eyes of Sissy. Watch out for her. I'm telling you guys. Her singing there too gives me goosebumps, and I love it. I wonder how that's gonna play. Like after you kill somebody, does it do a cinematic like singing? Does it take over? I wonder how that all works in the game. I wonder, what do you guys think about that? How do you think it works in the game with Sissy or any of the voice lines?
So Johnny is the pretty boy character. So he's like the sort of almost James Dean rebel without a cause.
I'm on the fence with Johnny. You guys know that. I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not gonna like play like, oh, I love everything about this game. His look is a little bit oof to me. I mean, it's not a bad look. I'm just saying it's not my favorite out of all the characters so far. But I do see him being like the guy that like he will mess you up. Like you can't trust him either, and he will like he does like. He's just gonna go out and brutally kill you. He's not gonna like do you a favor or feel bad for you whatsoever. He definitely looks buff too.
He's got a very beautiful, handsome face that sort of lures the ladies in, but there's a sort of something about his eyes that is dangerous.
For Johnny, that was an interesting character because he was brand new from scratch, and I told Kim and I talked to Kim that I felt like I needed a male that would not fit in with the family. So we didn't want to do an older gentleman like the cook. We didn't want another wily, erratic, lanky character like the hitchhiker.
Oh, man,
obviously,
no.
we didn't want another grandpa. We didn't want another brute like Leatherface.
I'm going to be maining Hitchhiker. You guys know that. That's my main. But I am going to play Victim for the first few matches because I want to be immersed in this game. I want to dive in to get that fear. I don't want to become like a killer right away. I want to dive in and be scared. I want to get that feeling. So now when I go to be a killer, I know how they feel and how to taunt them even more. So yeah, that's where I'm going to go. I'm probably going to do Anna as my main victim and Hitchhiker to start as my main Sawyer family killer.
So within that small gap, there's only a few characters that can fit in there. So over the course of 3 years, I studied just serial killers and went down that whole rabbit hole of a lot of the famous ones like Ted Bundy and Richard Ramirez, but also a lot of unknown ones as well. Just went into that rabbit hole of what motivates them. What do they look like? How do they use their looks to get close to people, and how do they manipulate them, and all these things. And that's where Johnny kind of came from, is he's this weird mixture of a lot of serial killers who's able to go out from the house and go to small towns and
so
drift
they do
around
their
and hang out,
research,
and
you
he can
guys.
stalk
Holy
people.
shit.
And
They
he
look
gets-
deep.
He uses his looks to get close to them, and then he can lure them back to the family house. Because he's not just doing it because he wants food, right? He's doing it because he's sadistic. He's the closest thing the family has to a real serial killer. So those two characters bring a lot of personality to what normally.
You guys, I don't know if you look at it this way when you see these, like, did you see Johnny stabbing what's his name, Leland? Did you see that? He like stabbed him once, looked in his eyes, stabbed him again in the chest, upper chest downward, and do you guys look at it like this? Like when you're playing this game, are you almost intimidated? Like it's not like just a quick slash. I feel almost like you're going to be alone in these moments with the killers, the Sawyers. And if they catch you and you're getting killed, it's not just like a video game kill. It's almost like a very awkward situation. Like no one else is around and it's not a game anymore because now you're getting like brutally killed by, and you're looking in the eyes of these guys. I might be reading too deep into it, but man, this is going to be brutal and awkward and scary. If you dive your imagination into it, it's going to be creepy.
It would be just this highly dysfunctional circle of the cook, the hitchhiker, and Leatherface.
Oh, snap. Oh, okay. Damn. All right. So we've talked about this before. You don't just press a button and start the chainsaw, or it's not already started. You have to start. You have to pull. You have to pull start it and get the choke ready. You got to get it going, and it's not going to happen right away. But those sounds we're hearing right there, you guys, are from the actual Poland 306A and the 245A or hybrid or whatever, because in the movie it was like 306/245, and those sounds are what Wes captured out in the field, and that's the real that sounded amazing. It had like a muffled like choke to it. The RPMs were revving after like it was that was awesome. Let's watch that part again. We got to watch that part again, and check out the background too.
Dysfunctional circle of the cook, the hitchhiker, and Leatherface.
Oh man, some pigs, some arm on the table.
You know, the chainsaw from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is as much a character as Leatherface or the cook or the hitchhiker or Grandpa, you know, because it's right there in the title, but more than that, it just, the sound of it, the look of it, the menace. You know, there's this great scene in the movie where the chainsaw is just sitting on the table and you know Leatherface is going to reach for it and something horrible is going to happen.
Okay.
It's that implied moment of
Okay, wait. I touched on this before too. Before we even knew about like how they're gonna record the sounds to this video game, you guys. I made a video about sound with the chainsaw in the different environments with the chainsaw. Now, when you're in the kitchen, like in the movie right there, did you guys hear how the saw sounded very high-pitched, echoey, because the sound is bouncing off tile in the cabinets in very tight space, opposed to being outside, being like more like open and muffled and dry. Because it's outside, the sound fades and dries. In the kitchen, it's bouncing off all the walls, so you got that very loud reverb. I was wondering if Gunn was going to do that in the game. I know they showed us some recording of the chainsaw being outside and stuff like that, but if you're in the kitchen revving that chainsaw, is it going to sound like that in the movie? Because if so, man, that is brutal. That's awesome. That's what I want to hear. Different tones to different sounds in different parts of the house or the environment. Let's watch that scene one more time. How disturbing, too. One of my favorite scenes of that film.
You know, there's this great scene in the movie where the chainsaw is just sitting on the table and you know Leatherface is going to reach for it and something horrible is going to happen. It's that implied moment of what you know is happening to the characters because he started that up. It really is just what drives home, you know, the horror of that title, the horror of the film. And so we knew that the chainsaw had to be, we had to approach it with as much care as we approached any individual character in the game.
Oh, when you see Leatherface without that chainsaw, he loses something. As cool as it is to see him use the hammer and kill Kirk or something like that, that chainsaw might as well be a part of him. Might as well be part of his mask or his clothes. So we knew that chainsaw had to be represented perfectly, or as close as you can get. And luckily, we, Ish here and Mad and Ben took time to scan the real saw that we found. We have 4 or 5 saws here, Poulons.
It was interesting. It was a lot of speaking to older repair people that have 40 plus years experience fixing chainsaws this old. So that it was interesting to go down those roads with those folks, but it allowed us to be able to get a chainsaw running, a couple of them, to be able to do all the capture that we needed to do. So it definitely was like trying to get a character up off the ground, like something that you're building from the ground up, because none of them worked. So you get to see
he was probably sitting there like, you guys, they could have very easily like just pulled sound clips off online somehow and just faked got chainsaw sounds and been like, oh, okay, that's done. But no, they did what they had to do, and I'm glad they did it this way, because you guys know, now we know, when we're playing this game, that's this, we're holding this, we're using the real saw, the real deal. And it makes us feel more like, I bet there's going to be kids out there that don't give a shit and don't care or don't notice that. But us hardcore fans and Gun knowing that's what matters. That's what matters. And we all know that this is a true horror game that they're putting their heart and soul into. And I give them credit for that 100%. That is awesome, because the sound is the most important in this game, or any horror game, to me, honestly. I think without a great sound or sound effects or even score, it doesn't work properly,
The bits and pieces and the insides of that thing to get it running again. But it was definitely worth it.
What's important is not just whether it's a 306 or a 245 or a hybrid. What we wanted to do was capture it the way it looked like in the film. Right, because really no one knows if it was in 1971 and 1972 or 3 or 4. It's not a lot of info on something that was 50 years ago. So our goal was to look at it in the film, get as much reference as we could, scan the real saws that we have, try to get that saw as close as you can. We wouldn't normally do that for a lot of other weapons.
To nail the authenticity of this saw, well, I mean, my focus is always about sound. It's just a thing I really enjoy. And I knew I only trusted one guy to help me with that, and that's Watson Wu.
Hi, my name is Watson Wu. I am a sound designer, sound effects recording artist.
He's one of the best out there. He's done a lot of the racing franchises and games that people know about.
And Lord Chaos is a YouTuber
and
in the
I knew
background.
we had a unique problem, because that saw is really loud, and you need specific equipment to capture that. And I knew he had captured very loud vehicles and very loud weaponry, and he had the tech to do it and the know-how to do it.
Yeah, the chainsaw was, and probably still is, the biggest overall sound design challenge of the game. I mean, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The chainsaw had to sound awesome, and Gun, quite rightly, really pushed to make sure we got as much quality and authenticity into the sound of the chainsaw as we can. We started off, importantly, with them actually sourcing the exact model chainsaw from the film. So we had a 1970s Poland chainsaw, which they then took out into a field with Watson Wu. It's one of the world's finest field recording experts. And they just spent the day thrashing it around.
This guy here is all post-production, and he compresses, he mixes, he masters all the sounds. So this guy is where the magic happens. What we hear, the final product in the game, is because of Ross here. I've been into music studios with my old band. I've recorded a lot. I know a lot about it. But obviously the authenticity is Wes out there doing it, and what's his name, recording the sounds on the field. But like right here, he's the one that he mixes, masters, compresses the sounds. He makes it happen to the liking of what Wes wants in the game. In case you guys didn't know that.
Having a big guy walking around and just getting a sense of it. And I gave them a huge shopping list of every sound I'd possibly want out of it. And they just obliged and gave me this massive recordings that I could work with.
Like, for instance, if he doesn't do his job right, some of the sounds might peak and not, it might drown things out in the game. And it's not, you know what I mean? So he's going to make it all perfect. His job is probably one of the harder jobs, getting all of it done right, and like, oh, headache, long time.
So it was great that we could bring him on to help us get exactly what we were after. But we got to go even further with that, in that the types of equipment he brought not only could handle it, but also handle it in a full range of dynamic sound, which allowed us to get great source material to hand off to Ross to bring that into the sound design of the game, and being able to have a discussion with our partners at Dolby to start introducing Atmos into this game, which it might be one of the first, if not the first, horror multiplayer games that has Dolby Atmos within the game.
So then, after
what do you
that,
guys
really,
think that is? Dolby Atmos. What is that? Is that just surround sound left to right? If so, that'll be pretty creepy, man, or cool sounding. If that's what he's talking about.
The thing we had to think about was, did we want to have a canned chainsaw sound that you sort of press a button and a pre-made sound plays, or did we want to go a little deeper and do something quite complicated and replicate an actual chainsaw engine? It felt like it'd be a letdown to the fans not to have what felt like a real, actual chainsaw. So,
man, all right. Before I even dive into the sound of that, look at the lighting, the sunlight hitting and reflecting with the. It looks gorgeous. It looks dirty. It looks awesome. And then the humor of Bubba Leatherface grunting and getting frustrated from the saw that they added in there, because if you're a victim and running away and you got a little bit of distance, you might hear him grunting and yelling, and then you hear the saw, you're like, oh, fuck. and when that saw fired up there, when he started revving it, it had like that, like, again, the bassy tone to it too, like the loud but bassy, like the muffler kicking in. Wow. Let's watch that clip again. I have to appreciate that. That's pretty damn badass. Well, we're going to back a little bit more.
It let down to the fans not to have what felt like a real, actual chainsaw.
Oh my God, I love
So
it.
that's what we did in the end. We built basically a replicated engine for the chainsaw, like you would for an engine for a car in a game, with revving and throttle on, throttle off, and curves of acceleration, deceleration. So I had to take loads of little clips of loops of the chainsaw at different RPM speeds, and then layer it up and merge it all together so that it's a genuine, real live chainsaw system. So when you rev it in game now, you're not hearing some, lame canned sound that just plays again and again. It actually does throttle up and throttle down, and you get real rev. So you can run around and it's just so tactile and fun to play, because as you're playing, you're just pressing that throttle, and it's rum, 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 and you actually feel so much like Leatherface. So it's
Oh, wow. Okay, so in case you guys don't understand exactly what he's talking about, is the revving part in the game, they didn't just get like one clip of a rev, like one rev, because if you did that, it would sound like a generic rev, the same rev over and over. It would be like that one sound, it would be annoying, and it would be like generic, and you'd be able to tell, like, oh, that's cheesy, it's annoying, all you hear is the same rev over and over and over. What he did was record a bunch of different revs, RPMs, or like as it's revving, or different up and down, and he, like he said, he layered them all, like a ton of layers. So when you're in the game, if you're like pulling the button to rev the chainsaw a little, like not hard at all, it'll capture that one layer. But if you rev it harder and harder or faster, it'll go within the other layers that he recorded and mixed into that master. So it allows you to it's going through all the layers. So you're picking and choosing the layers of the sound of you revving that chainsaw. So it gives it a realistic sound, like we're really holding that damn chainsaw. If that makes any sense to you guys, that's awesome. And it looks like Leatherface here in this screenshot, like when he was It looked like he was hitting himself in the head, like he's frustrated. That's pretty cool. Let's see that again.
Like, and it's just so tactile and fun to play because as you're playing, you're just pressing that throttle, and it's like, rum, 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 and you actually feel so much like Leatherface. So it's been incredibly difficult and challenging, but in the best possible way. I mean, that sort of challenge is a pleasure to try and find an answer to, and sounds
time-consuming,
badass
I bet.
in game now.
I mean, everyone knows that sound is very important in a horror game, but you need to know what you're doing. You got to have a maestro behind the scenes doing it. And luckily, we had Watson for the capture, and we got Ross to drive it home.
Wow. All right, hold on. Let me rewind that part. I saw when when he missed her and hit some kind of metal, it shot off sparks and the lighting reflected onto what's her name? I can't remember her name right now. Oh my god. Let's watch that. The reflection of the sparks.
Capture, and we got Ross to drive it home.
Oh, that was cool. I wonder if I could pause that.
And luckily, we had Watson for the capture, and we got Ross to drive it home.
Look at that. Look at that, you guys. It's at night. He missed. He hit a piece of metal. It sparked, and it shot like a reflection. This game is going to be a lot of fun. Wow, this is going to be awesome. Oh, I like that. Got her.
A character's backstory can inform design, but also a character's design can inform backstory.
When you're creating characters for video games, there's this push and pull between the needs of the game and the needs for narrative. And, you kind of go back and forth. There's something about creating characters for a horror game because there's so many tropes, there's so many character archetypes, there's so many things that you expect to see from those characters that people are used to within the world of horror. And then to take that a step further within the world of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we had these specific character types that we wanted to bring in. We were still designing the game. We were still designing how these characters would exist within this world, what their strengths would be, how they would play. So we started kind of going back and forth between, here are some of the strengths we want to bring in, here are some of the gameplay styles we want to bring in, and marrying that to these archetypes, these kind of characters that you expect to see in these films.
We take Leland, for example. Back in high school, he's part of the wrestling team. Waned away a bit when he moved into college, but that strength and agility that he has forms kind of his attributes within the game. So he has higher levels of strength, and also his actual special ability allows him to barge into family members and knock them down. We've also got Julie, who kind of grew up in California around the beaches and surfing.
Hang on a second.
lot more sporty lifestyle.
The hitchhiker's probably like, he doesn't care. Like when the hitchhiker gets knocked down here, it's not like he's mad now. Like in the movie, he would probably just be laughing and get up and be like, you want to play? Let's go. I'm going to get you for barbecue later. Oof.
We've also got Julie, who kind of grew up in California around the beaches and surfing, a lot more sporty lifestyle. She's got much better stamina attribute, which allows her to move around the level much more agile and avoid detection by the family.
Look at
Here we go.
Oh my god. Okay, so you guys notice that even though it's like it's kind of quiet and she's almost there, the music, there's like that ambient sound that starts rumbling and getting louder and louder. That would make me feel like I'm not gonna make it. I can't see behind me. I'm not gonna make it because something's about to happen. Maybe it's not, but like because that ambient music is building up like that, that is a pretty cool feature because that just drives you like insane. Like shit. Am I gonna make it? I don't know.
You never are fully invested completely in a backstory or fully invested in a gameplay style they both are kind of existing loosely, almost disconnected to some degree, until you start to realize, hey, this character that we've created, they really fit with this gameplay style. You know, now let's take that a step further and think about a deeper way to play them. Think about more about how that'll inform their visuals, more about their dialogue, more about then some of that little, you know, seasoning that we can throw on that character as well. And, you know, it's one of those things of you steadily arrive, both design, gameplay, and narrative, they kind of start to meet in the middle until finally you have this fully fleshed out character. And I think what's really interesting about that is because in some ways, you then know that character on a much deeper level than if you just tackled one or the other in a vacuum.
All right.
But having a bit of context about the character's personality, the kind of character traits,
that was Julie and Anna. Anna was repairing the fuse box to open up one of the exits at the slaughterhouse. And it looked like Julie was keeping an eye out for Anna in case somebody was sneaking up on her. Because again, if you're doing a fuse box, you do a mini game in first person perspective, so you can't see if anybody's coming up behind you. So that's if you're going to play this game, you got to look out for each other. That's the best way to do it.
Are they timid? Are they outgoing? Are they confident? Are they aggressive? All those kind of traits. They're really useful for putting that into the design and trying to think about the...
Was she just playing with a dead body? Bones? She trying to get a bone shard? Maybe that's one way of getting bone shards in this game, you guys. You have to pick it off a dead body, and you have to do a little bit of a mini game to get that bone out of there. Let's watch that again.
Character traits, are they timid? Are they outgoing? Are they confident? Are they aggressive? All those kind of traits. They're really useful for putting that into the design and trying to think about the personality of who you're trying to create. And this is going to sound like a bad thing, but basically when I'm designing something, my mind tends to wander. But when it's wandering, I'm trying to think about that character and trying to think about their background and trying to think about the personality and how you can try and inject that into the design, because it does come through. So yeah, the background of the character is quite important when it comes to designing.
Oh, damn.
We wanted to make sure that the player knew, why are these characters here? We didn't want...
She just killed Nugget the chicken. Julie just killed Nugget. You guys, I was wondering about this. Let's rewind that for a second. I brought this up a long time ago because you guys, Nugget the chicken is going to be on every map, and if you walk by that chicken, it's going to go haywire and alert the family that you're there if it sees you. And I always made a joke like, if I see that chicken, I'm going to kill it. And I didn't know if that was actually a thing or not, but apparently you can. I feel bad for Nugget. Let's watch that again.
Background of the character is quite important when it comes to designing.
Oof. But what did she do? She karate chopped it?
The player knew, why are these characters here?
She karate chopped Nugget through the cage.
Showing up, and then you spawn in the basement with no backstory, right? So we started to fill in the gap with, okay, who are our main characters and what are they doing, and how does the family come in touch with them? How do they get kidnapped? Where were they at when this happened? Those are all important pieces for us when you create a story. That's why we settled on this story of Anna and Maria. And incorporated a lot of things that make Texas, like the sunflower season, like the wildflower season.
That looks awesome.
This art student who's out just finally breaking away from her home and going to college, and then she's out taking pictures of the blue bonnets and the paintbrush and all these awesome flowers. And she gets caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. That gave us a reason and put her in a location that was close to the family, to one of our new characters. So without all that, you really don't know as a player why you're playing it.
I hope Gunn implements like the backstory of Maria while Maria Flora is missing, and like that's why those people are. I hope there's some kind of explanation to these new players of the video game that don't know all this stuff. Maybe there's going to be players that don't have a clue when the game drops. They're like, oh, what's this game? They have to know the story. So I hope like when they fire the game up, there's a quick little Maria getting lost or her car breaking down and then like something happening to her real quick before the title screen comes in, maybe like a quick little story. You guys think about that? You know, that'd be kind of cool.
And who these characters are. So really a lot of that backstory was important. for us to ground the characters into a timeline within the franchise. And also, honestly, if you think about it, it's hard for you to care about the character if you don't know anything about them.
The thing is, because we're facing our fears in horror films, you know, we're facing these things that terrify us, the way the characters then react to them, it's kind of the surrogate for us. It's mimicking how should we approach these? How can we overcome them? How can we face these things that are, you know, we find terrifying, whether on an individual level or family level, or fear about society as a whole? And I think, you know, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's really good about doing that because, you know, there's these undercurrents of, you know, economic despair and economic disparity and, you know, rural versus, you know, urban, and about, you know, people, outsiders coming into these very, you know, kind of enclosed, like isolated communities as well. And I think a lot of this stuff just gets layered on in the film, but gets layered on in a lot of horror movies. You know, you can, if you want to watch a horror movie at the surface level and just enjoy the gore, enjoy the blood, enjoy the screams, you totally can, and it's a great time. That's the best way to watch horror movies. You know, you just get the popcorn and start screaming.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean,
you put the notepad away and the pen away, get the popcorn out, and immerse your imagination, you guys. Stop doing what you do on all these critics out there before this guy has it right. You could tell he grew up in the 70s and 80s. Come on. Listen to what this guy and what I have to say, okay?
There's a lot of people that analyze
overanalyze
and analyze the characters of horror as thinking about the manifestations of our fears as society and individuals. And I think if you approach horror that way, you'll start to realize how smart and how intelligent and how really like meaningful so much horror is. And a lot of people just never get past that surface level.
Because
for me, hopefully
they're a bunch of, they're riding this train wagon of like going into a movie before the movie credits even start rolling. What can I do to pick this movie apart? Why? That would never happen. This would never. Of course, it would never happen. It's a movie. You have to immerse yourself, you guys. You know, I'm not saying everybody, but I find a lot of people doing that online and in comments of trailers and movies, like, oh, that movie was boring because I couldn't see the Blair Witch. It was stupid. That's why it was great to me, because you never saw the Blair Witch. Stay out of the woods.
Sees all the hard work that we put into this game and all the effort that it takes on our half here at Gun Interactive and at Sumo Digital to take a film that's so old and to recreate that in digital form for people to play with their friends and experience like the movie kind of all over again. Hopefully everyone loves the game and what we're doing, and we look forward to letting everybody play it soon.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Are you guys as excited as I am for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game? Come on, you guys. Let's go. Are you guys going to main a victim first? Or are you going to main a killer first? A Sawyer family member first? Let me know in the comment section below. Is there anything you want to touch on or talk about about this long video? I know this is a super long video. I want to thank you guys. If you did finish watching it with me, thank you so much. I just wanted to do a commentary over like the whole video and talk about it, laugh about it, pick it apart, or touch on certain things. And yeah, so anyways, I'll let you guys go. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. And as always, campers, stay out of the woods.